Connor Ellington was the owner of a restaurant chain. He had traveled a long, hard path from a run-of-the-mill manager to the owner of a large business. Now he could do anything. Well, almost anything. The only thing he didn't allow himself was vacation. He thought it was worth it, but as soon as he did, the company would start falling apart, and he didn't have the energy to put all the pieces back together again. Connor constantly being at work made his wife Katherine worried and unhappy. Connor was happy in his marriage, and they had a wonderful relationship. They raised 2 wonderful children who didn't plan on continuing their father's work. Their daughter wanted to be an artist and open a gallery, and their son was studying in a music school to become a musician. Connor wasn't upset by this and didn't try to convince either to sacrifice their dreams for his business. He was proud that they had found what they wanted to do and always supported them. His wife Katherine was also far removed from the restaurant business. She was an art historian who lectured at a university, went to seminars, and continued her studies. She wasn't concerned about money in the slightest. She was worried her husband worked too much, and the lack of a break could adversely affect his health. Connor always tried to make sure his family didn't want for anything, and he was able to, but he had no plans to take a break. He thought a good retirement required more and more work. His only breaks were little gatherings to play cards with his friends. They would meet at one of their houses and play for a few hours. Connor loved those evenings. Those few hours were the only time when he was fully disconnected from work and just relaxed with his friends and enjoyed chatting about nothing and sometimes drinking whiskey. Today was card night, and Connor couldn't wait. He needed to relieve the stress he'd gathered recently. Everything was okay and under control, but not going the way he wanted. Connor was racking his brain to find a reason profits were falling and looking for a way to improve his company. Connor needed a break, but he couldn't imagine that this evening would change his life forever. When he entered the apartment, he saw familiar faces. The smell of cologne and tobacco and the quiet immediately improved his mood. Everyone was in their seat. They decided to play without money today and for wishes instead. They decided the wishes would correspond with their age, position, and status, and there wouldn't be anything stupid under the table or walking around outside in a dress. Everyone wrote their wishes down on pieces of paper, put them in a vase, and the game began. Connor didn't know what or when it went wrong, but he lost every hand. "It's your turn," a friend said and gave him the vase. Connor reached in, grabbed one, and opened it. His face was full of shock. "Well, read it," his friend said, burning up from curiosity. "Hand over management of your business to the first homeless person you meet, and don't manage them." That was what was written. "Guys, I think this one's too much," Connor said. "Hey, that's what it says. What are you worried about? Everything's in order. What could they do? They'll eat and drink for a month and you'll finally relax. You haven't been on a vacation for 10 years already," his friend said. Connor tried to convince them that all of it was ridiculous, and how could any of them imagine handing over their company to a homeless stranger for a month? But they weren't listening. The debt was something honor-bound. So Connor knew that he had to do this wish. They went to go find a candidate. While searching, his friend said if the first homeless person refuses, then Connor would be released. They didn't look long and found a man dumpster diving. They walked towards him excitedly. Connor was praying mentally that he'd refuse, but to their surprise, the man agreed after hearing their strange offer. His name was Robert, and he was middle-aged. To their surprise, he was completely sober. And even though he lived on the street, he didn't look or smell like it. So they got him a hotel room so he could get himself together and would bring him clothes and documents to make him manager in the morning. It was hard to explain what was going on inside Connor's head. He was sure that after a month he'd end up homeless too and would be getting food out of dumpsters. "Katherine, starting tomorrow, I'm on vacation, just like you wanted," he told his wife as soon as he stepped inside their home. Katherine couldn't believe what she heard and looked at him inquisitively. Connor explained what had happened. She wasn't scared for him in the slightest, but was delighted that he would finally rest, and they could finally spend some time together. Now, despite his concerns, Robert didn't run and spent the night in the hotel. He met them fresh, clean-shaven, and smelling good, who looked nothing like the man from the night before. While filling out the documents, Connor began to realize that Robert was smart. "We'll have an unforgettable vacation," Katherine announced when Connor got home and showed him plane tickets and packed suitcases. Connor was restless the first week. He thought about how much work he'd put into his company the entire first week. He hadn't rested for years and deprived his wife and children for years, and now would lose everything for something stupid. He grabbed his phone to call many times, but according to their deal, he couldn't do anything to control the new management. Eventually, he got himself together and calmed down and actually relaxed after 2 weeks. He enjoyed how he was spending his time currently so much. He finally realized how much he had lost those years. He swore to Katherine that when they got home, he would change how he treated work and would take days off. They would spend time together and would even go on nice vacations. Robert didn't do anything the first week. He simply carefully watched how the restaurant worked and how the people worked there. However, changes began on week 2. Robert fired the administrator, head chef, and several servers. He personally hired new candidates for the empty positions. They prepared a new menu, new working rules, and changes to the interior. The remaining employees were shocked, but noticed that the changes were positively affecting their workplace. That month flew by. When Connor approached the restaurant, he was nervous. He was met and greeted by a new administrator who walked him to his office and returned with a folder after a couple of minutes. She explained what had happened, the changes, and presented reports that showed an increase in customers and finances. Connor was speechless due to shock. He couldn't imagine that his life was improved, not ruined. When he asked where Robert was, he was told that he went to check the other restaurants. He had the right to visit them without warning. Connor carefully read the papers, and the improved finances were confirmed by their accountant. There was a knock at the door. "Robert, explain to me how you did all this," he asked after greeting him. "Mr. Ellington, I'll tell you everything I learned this month directly. You're a good man and wonderful businessman. Your problem is you don't understand people. Your employees were the main problem here. As you can see, the changes I made were mostly to fix that, and it immediately gave positive results. I too was once a business owner, but life happened. I lost everything and wound up homeless. I had already given up, and apathy and depression became my friends. I was about to make peace with it, but then you came with your strange offer. I realized it was my last chance to return to a normal life. I hope you'll appreciate my work and give me a good recommendation so I can get a normal job." "Recommendation? Robert, what you've done is incredible. I'm not letting you go anywhere. I'm asking you to stay in my company, and I guarantee I'll pay you well. Moreover, you're the only person I can trust my life's work to, and you've proven it." Some time passed. Connor and Robert were sitting in their office. "Who would have thought that my loss would improve my life so much?" Connor said, giving Robert a glass of whiskey. "The greatest victory is mine, even though I never held any cards," Robert said with a smile. "I've never touched them since. Actually, now, I can relax in a different, better way."